Hey everybody. Not really doing a study at the moment, but I have been thinking a lot with all the stuff going on, how crazy weather has been. Um, as I've studied on my own, there are many things that pop up that God tends to do to get people's attention. And the aspects of natural disasters or well, yes, most of it falls under that. There are other aspects that God uses people to do things and things of that sort as well. However, a lot of things from biblical times, and I say biblical times, but technically we are living in biblical times as well, but in the Old Testament aspect of things, earthquakes, tornadoes, like tsunamis, the flooding, like all these different things that we know what that was now. Those are things that caught them by surprise, but that was God's way of getting the people's attention. So, just some food for thought running through my brain at least. What if what we're seeing right now with the fires in LA and the hurricane coming through, and how the people in that path who are in a hurricane area weren't, not that they weren't affected, but they weren't affected in the same way as Tennessee and North Carolina, with things just being isolated and destroyed. So those areas you would never think would be affected by a hurricane the way they were, and yet even when it hit landfall and was stronger than hitting up through Appalachian area for, Western North Carolina and Eastern Tennessee. But they were impacted more with that destruction than the areas that were hit by the storm being stronger. So that, not knowing like, oh, hey, how is this happening? Because it's so far inland. And even though I've seen different things like, oh, but technically this far inland can always be affected, and I get that, and there's always rain and stuff, but to be affected the way it was is something we don't usually see. So it's like, well, that's strange, but it's interesting. Just things that kind of linger there, right? And then we turn around, being in southern Louisiana, granted, further south of me, got hit with all this snow. We got about 2 inches here. We're, not quite, I don't know, I'd say almost kind of central, like you got Louisiana, like right here, like south, but kind of central. That like towards the border, okay? So not like the middle of Louisiana, but we're kind of the central area through Louisiana. We got about 2 inches of snow. Okay, not a big deal. I know it snowed here a little bit here and there before in the past. It did the first time we were here. But for it to snow up to it was I don't know, maybe an hour and a half south of us, and going through Louisiana and Alabama and Florida, and all of those places are getting hit with so much more snow. I think I saw some with 8 to 9 inches of snow, being even further south than us, which tends to be warmer, is insane. It's crazy. And that's fine. Life is what it is. You kind of got to roll with it. But that is not a very common thing. And it's just kind of going through my mind with these things that are happening Not that they're abnormal to hear about, but for the areas it's happening, it is like, what is happening? This doesn't happen. It's abnormal. And it just goes through my mind over and over. What if this is God trying to get the people's attention? Because something abnormal happening. He's like, wake up, wake up. America's got to wake up. So I really feel like it's coming from God. It's not just some random natural thing. Oh, it's just some random, okay, obviously I'm a believer. And I'm not saying science doesn't go into some of this. But most of the time, science does actually prove God to exist. A lot of people, I don't know how to put this delicately. A lot of people probably can sense stuff, but they are turning away from it. If you start getting angry or something in you just starts and starting this big old fire thing in you, and you just are getting angry and mad and just no, I don't want to hear none of that. That is probably a good sign that you are fighting against yourself to see what's there. So, to each their own. That is your own walk and journey with God. But I really feel like what's going on, I just have this conviction, I guess, that God's trying to get people's attention. And God's been the same yesterday, today, forever. If God used those things before to get the people's attention, who's to say he's not doing it now too? If you happen to be in a position that maybe you feel like you haven't been right with God, or that you've walked away, or that you've turned from him, I just challenge you to reflect and examine yourself and get on the path you need to be on, that you're feeling led to be on. Like I said, it's a journey for each person. That is a relationship with our Creator. And everybody is different in how that looks or how that relationship is. It's no different than our relationship with the people of the world. Each relationship is different. We don't have the same relationship with every single person. And that relationship you have with God is also going to be different than somebody else's. But I do want to encourage you to reflect and examine yourself honestly, because there's a lot happening. And if you're not seeing it, I pray that God helps you to see it, because there's some strange things happening around the world. And I really think it's God trying to get our attention, to see what's there, to see what's truth. And I don't really know how to end all that. There's not some whoop, oh, see, pretty little package. But if you are there, please just take it seriously. If you're feeling that conviction, or you're feeling like you have that barrier there, that can be difficult to overcome no matter what the situation is. But pray and ask God to help you get through that, to help walk you through it, to get to the other side, to find where that obstacle is, because He can remove that. So anyway, just some random thoughts, because I just don't I don't know. With all the things going on, it's not abnormal in different areas, but for the areas it's hitting, I do find that it is a bit abnormal. And I really feel like God's trying to get our attention. So I just challenge you to take that in consideration and reflect on your own stuff. All right. Anyway, have a good day. Bye.